Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming today. It looks like we have good attendance. We'll call the meeting to order of the Citizens Advisory Board. Hope everyone had an opportunity to review the previous meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? If not,
adoption.
It's been moved. Is there a second to adopt the minutes?
Aye.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next, we need to appoint a nominating committee. Is there anyone that would like to volunteer to serve on that, or do I get to make volunteers of you? Richard, would you serve on that?
I'm just getting ready to take a bite of watermelon. I was getting ready to say something.
I think that was an affirmative. Mr. Sutter, would you be willing to? I picked you because you had your mouth full and I knew you couldn't say no too quickly.
I was just getting ready to volunteer, but yes, I will.
Thank you very much. And I'll look for a third one. Liz, would you like to do that? I'll just keep going down the row. Richard Ryerson, Ed Sutter, and Liz. Are there any other volunteers? Do I have a motion to approve those three members as the nominating committee?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. We have our nominating committee. Next on the agenda, we have a brief housekeeping item to take care of. We have a revision to the bylaws, and the only amendment that is included in that is the addition of a treasurer's position that is recognized. Thankfully, that necessary post exists because we actually have money. And so that's a good situation to be in. So hopefully people have had a chance to review that. Do I hear a motion to approve the amendment of the bylaws to include the treasurer's position?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the amendment of the bylaws. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Real briefly, Freeland is our treasurer. He's not able to be here, but I will tell you that I'm very pleased to report that with the Communities Foundation of Oklahoma for the Prison Chapel Care Fund, as of March 31st, the balance in that account was $39,956.69. So that is a wonderful balance to have to work with going forward to deal with the things that I'm sure we will need to deal with. Next off, we need to develop goals, and I'm going to turn that over to Warden Mel.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Good to see everyone, and this is a great turnout. We have each year, as part of the procedure on that outlines the role of Citizens Advisory Boards, is that the board has goals, and so each year we review goals and see if we want to continue them or if we want to add to them. And last year our goals were for the council to continue to provide the general public with current up-to-date information regarding activities at the facility, and Lynn does that quite on his own, but we try to put different information out throughout the year of other events that happen here or other just statistically interesting information. So that is one goal. We selected that goal because this community has been very supportive from the very, very beginning, but part of that, trying to continue that relationship, is to make sure that the public does remain informed and does remain current on what is going on here. So that was one goal. And the second one was expand the volunteer program to include other areas of service, to include arts, hobby crafts, and music ministry. And the role of the council would be, if you know people in the community or as you're out talking about the community, to and people that might have skills in those areas to send them our way. So we might be able to do some things in those areas that we can't do with our staff. So those are the two that were from last year. Are there any new goals that the council feels like we should take on either as a facility or in partnership with you as the council?
I would make a motion to approve the goals as presented.
All right. Do we have a second? All right.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay. That was easy. Continue doing those things. The next item on the agenda is facility update, and I'm not going to take a whole lot of time because I do want to allow time for my new boss, Greg Williams, to introduce himself and share a little bit about some of the changes that may be going on in the department. But before I get into that, while I have you all here, we get to recognize different staff for years of service, and we always try to do that in a public way, and sometimes that coincides with an event like this. And Greg doesn't know this, but I'm going to ask him to come up. We have one employee that's here today that many of you know. I mean, I know you don't know a lot of our staff, but I think many of you have had the opportunity to work with Roberta Curtis. And she does our reentry program now. She does work with our aftercare program, and we were just talking in the hall. We were 3 people at one time to do aftercare being the work that we do with the offenders once they complete the program. We do try to keep track of them for a year after they leave. And then the reentry part is all of the classes and preparatory work that we do prior to their release. And so Roberta tries to touch every offender with some level of reentry before they leave. So we are going to recognize her if she would come up today for 25 years of service as of May.
Could we get sort of a posed smiling picture here, please? You won't see a flash or anything. Here we go. Smiles. Great. That was first shot. Let me do a second. Got it. Thank you.
Really? That's the good stuff.
Yeah, that clearinghouse was
We kind of got behind on our meetings this year. I don't know where this year's gone, but I don't know. I can hardly believe it's the end of April. This year has just flown by, and so we normally would have had a meeting prior to March in the first quarter of the year. So this is actually our first meeting of the year, end of April. But since we've last met, some of you probably read in the paper things that are going on with the ongoing crisis in corrections that has to do with bed space capacity. Certainly nothing new for you all. You all followed this for many years. You're a community that's actually far more informed and caring than most people. But each time we get to these capacities, it affects each facility in different ways. And so since we last met, we've added 20 more beds. We've added them to Unit 3. So that will make our count. What is our count? 732 and 736. 756. So from when we all started at 300 and 18 years ago, we're over double what we are. And we actually took on fewer than some facilities did. I still feel very blessed. Every facility, Mr. Williams can attest, we have looked every place that we can to add more beds, and we think we can't add any more, and then we find a little corner in a day room. We're looking at some options that we really never thought we would have to or should with good correctional practices, which has to do with even going into gymnasiums. So it really is a crisis, but we are managing here. We're having a little bit of luck with getting some officers in the door. We've had a rough 2 years getting officers. We've lost many officers to the oil field, and so the last time we met, we were still struggling. We still are, but the chief has encouraged that we get 1 or 2 in the door, and so we hire 2 and lose 1, so it's still some forward progress. But we have a ways to go before we will be at the capacity we need to be for correctional officers. But we're a bit encouraged on that. I think I'm just going to keep it short. Is there anything that I'm overlooking? Big things that have happened? So I think that's...
Is that the Regional Training Academy?
Oh, yes, thank you. I think there's one more big thing. Again, because of the wonderful community you are, and you are so unique, and I know you can't possibly know that because this is part of the state is maybe all that you know, but I get to talk with my peers all the time, and they're very envious of the kind of counsel that we have, but also just areas of support we have throughout the community. And you maybe remember about 2 years ago, we had a need to do a local correctional officer training academy because our training academy had so many people they couldn't keep up. And so we were the first in the state because Northwest Tech and different other entities that were part, Northwestern with food service, came together and said, here's a plan, we'll do all this literally free. And so they hosted that original academy. Well, we're kind of at that place again, that we've got officers that are backed up, that we can't get them through our academy because our academy is very small. And so they asked us if we could reconvene an academy. So we're on starting week 3 out at Northwest Tech again, and they're using our model to do one now in McAllister. Although in McAllister, they're doing it at the prison. They didn't have quite the resources available in the community, so they're doing theirs at the penitentiary. So again, y'all are so generous with your resources, and we really appreciate y'all helping us when we have these things happen. So anyway, with that, I would like to, I'm very happy also since we've met, I guess, when did we meet last? We met in December. Did we have the director appointed in December? I don't think so. I think we were still on hold in December, and we were waiting to see who it was going to be. So that is also big news. Director Patton has been appointed, and I guess this week he was... Yesterday he was
subcommittee.
Confirmed by the subcommittee, and he still has to go through the Senate. And so, as with any new director, there's many changes that are being made. There's been a reorganization of which Mr. Williams is a part of that, and so he will share a little bit about maybe what the new department looks like. But our new division manager is Greg Williams, and I'm so glad that he can come today. He's been to Bill Johnson many times, and he's worked in many different capacities in his 31 years, right? 31 years in corrections. He replaces Renee Watkins, who you also met. She retired. So we've had all kinds of changes from the top director's position, and now our immediate former deputy director are now called division managers, which is some of the new language of the directors. So with that, I will turn it over to my new boss, Greg Williams, and we welcome you here to our council.
Thank you. Again, I'm Greg Williams. I have been with the agency 31 years, believe it or not. It's been a wonderful time that I've had. Like the warden had said, I started off as a correctional officer in Lexington, Oklahoma, back in the day as they refer to it now, but things really have not changed too much. We still have inmates that come in. You know, every week at A&R is still just as full as it was when I was a correctional officer there. Staffing is always an issue, and has continued to be an issue, and those things have not really changed, but a lot of things have changed. I guess after I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit more about my career. After a correctional officer, I became a probation and parole officer, worked in 3 or 4 districts. At some point, I came to Enid, in fact, as the assistant district supervisor, and followed Warden Melton, and she was in that district right before I got there, so I have had an opportunity to work in northwest Oklahoma. Although some folks in the Panhandle would think that Enid is not northwest Oklahoma, and I've been through that. A lot of fun in Oklahoma. When I was in Enid, you know, we had 23 sub offices, and had some out in Boise City and Guyman and the real Panhandle, I guess, for most of us. After that, I went to opened a prison in Taft, Eddie Warrior Correctional Facility. I opened that facility in 1989, and since then I've been to several other facilities, and McAllister, and I went back to Joe Harp and OSR. And, like the warden said, I've been to a lot of the different facilities, but there's none like this facility, and the warden continues to say that over and over, even today, that this is a unique facility, and it does have a wonderful support base from the community, and I think a lot of that is attributed to her. As great as you guys are, she has been a big part of that as well, I think, and I think the department recognizes that as well. So I do want to applaud Warden Melton and her effort to bring the community and the board and the facility and the staff and really all of Northwest Oklahoma together, and the wisdom that she's had to blend you guys and keep you informed, and then you guys' wisdom as well to become a part of this facility and embrace a lot of the things that this facility is about. I noticed on the agenda it said an update on the Department of Corrections. As the warden had mentioned, we did get a new director, Robert Patton, and he came to us from Arizona, and it is a very exciting time in corrections in Oklahoma. We have struggled for several years with budget and with resources and with staffing and just a lot of things. So it's been refreshing to have the director come in with a new perspective and some new ideas and some things that we have done in the past, but a lot of things that we really haven't done. He is aggressive in reducing some of the backup, as you guys have seen in the paper. We call backup the inmates in the county jail. You have to help me with slang because I have been in corrections so long I forgot how to talk. But with the backup inmates, the ones in the jail, he has made a very concerted effort to change some of the processes that we've used to bring those offenders in, and it doesn't take long to walk around on the yard and kind of see the impact of that. At one time, we were bringing in, normally we bring in about 35 offenders a day, 35 offenders a day into A&R, our reception center. From the county jails, they come into the reception center, about 35 a day. And about 17, 18 days ago, we started bringing them in 100 a day. So we've increased that from 35 a day to 100 a day. And that has been a very big challenge for the staff as well as the facility staff as well. So, but that is working, and we have started gaining some ground on some of that backup. And again, that reduces the deficit that we have by again, we pay the sheriffs $27 a day for every day that those offenders are in those jails. So by bringing them in to facilities that are already up and running, it does save us some money. So we've been able to reduce our deficit some by doing that. So that has been one of the things that we've done. The director has reorganized the agency, and like she said, I took Renee Watkins' position, but really I kept my old position as well. So we kind of collapsed some divisions together and have reduced the number of divisions. Institutions now has 2 divisions, an east and a west, which kind of makes sense. And I have the west, which is 6 facilities. I have Oklahoma State Reformatory, and Crabtree and Lexington are the medium security facilities that I have, and I have 3 minimums, which is Bill Johnson, William Key, and John Lilly. And John Lilly's a little bit east, but it's part of the Western Division. It was just some kind of the numbers thing. In addition to that, I have all the private prisons. We have 4 private prisons up and running in Oklahoma. We have 3 that house Oklahoma offenders and 1 that houses California offenders. The one in Sayre houses offenders from California. But those are all medium security, and that's about 6,000 guys. We have right at 6,000 inmates in private prisons. So when you add the private prisons to the 6 publics that we have, it's a fairly decent sized division, and I'm very pleased and honored to be a part of that. And especially this facility. This is a very good facility. We recognized re-entry, and that is something that I have a big passion for. I got into this business to help offenders, and I think it's a calling, and I think it's a mission. I think it's one of the most important jobs that anybody could ever have. I know it sounds weird coming from, everybody thinks that they have an important job, but when I was a correctional officer, I thought I had a very important job, and as a parole officer, and as a deputy, and as a warden, and as an associate director, as an assistant deputy director, and now as a division manager. I'm telling you, corrections is a huge job and a huge tasking. I hear people try to describe, when you try to describe a facility, and, we all are recruiters. Everybody that works in corrections is a recruiter. And as we're out talking, I tell people, what do you want to do when you grow up? And they tell me, I want to be a school teacher. I want to be a laundry person. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a coach. I want to be an attorney. I want to be a business owner. And we've got all that in corrections. We've got every one of those things in corrections. The facility's like a small city, and there's something for about everyone. So it's a very exciting career, and it's a very important career. And again, I think that we touch the lives of a lot of individuals that need touched. And I think it's an honor to be a part of corrections. Questions, comments, editorials, political statements? Well, good for joining. And again, I really appreciate this board and what you guys have done and what you mean to this facility and the support that you've given with the chapel and with the fences and with just everything that the agency decides to do out here. You guys have been very supportive. And I really want to applaud and I appreciate your support. If I can do anything, you can call me, you can text me, you can email me, you can get a hold of me through the Warden Melton or any staff, and I'd just love to communicate with you, talk to you, share anything that I can. All right.
I did forget one thing. We do have one new member, and I know some of you all have been here for many, many years, and I meant to introduce Tandy Keenan. I invited her. I met her at the Capitol when we were down doing Alva Day at the Capitol, and we have some common interests. She works with Northwest Families.
Northwest Center for Behavioral Health.
Okay, the other side, the mental health side. But she works with interestingly some of the same issues that we do. And I thought, well, gosh, you should be a part of our advisory council. So I'm glad that you've joined us, and we'll look forward to having you in the.
I know there's something we're forgetting.
I know, it seems like, wow, we never.
GED.
Oh, yes,
Announce.
thank you.
That's the only thing I could remember before. Okay. Everybody put on their calendar May the 2nd at 1:30 p.m. will be the spring graduating GED class. Be an extra special day. Chris Steele, the Executive Director of TEAM, which stands for the Education and Employment Ministry, will be the speaker at the Eversole Chapel and Benson Centers.
And we have a wonderful dilemma. Greg Lyons was just telling me today, the principal, that we have 135 offenders graduating. Last time we set a record. Well, the chapel only holds 154. 154.
Yes, ma'am.
So we normally let them bring one or two guests, and so we're trying to decide if we want to try to open the doors and spill over to the Benson Center, or if we want to try our first outside graduation. And,
That'll bring on rain. So
well, yeah. Oh, well, it could be that. So anyway, we hope that you all come. Chris Steele will be a great speaker, so we hope we have a wonderful turnout. But I'm not really sure how we're going to pack everybody into that area. So, but we'll figure it out by that time. So, anyway, great production by the education department. And I might add, one of the things, besides doing what they've always done, one of the changes with receiving people at Lexington in, what is it, how many days?
5 days.
5 days now, is that each individual facility now does the initial educational testing on site. So that all used to be done at Lexington, and so now our education staff is doing all those tape tests in addition to running classes. So they're really hooked up out there. Very thankful to have Greg Lyons and his experience and his wonderful teachers. So, all right.
Anything else that needs to come before the advisory committee? If not, thank you again for each of you that attended. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.